of the agenda. Individuals appearing before the board are expected to respectfully follow the guidelines of Policy 2:230 and Policy 8:30, available upon signing. Public comments are important to the board. However, it is customary not to respond on issues until time has been taken to gather information and discuss all options. Lack of action or response at the time of comment does not imply lack of interest in the issues brought to the board. We have here a Mr. Steve Ballage.
You just sit. Yeah, wherever you're comfortable, Mr. Ballage.
Well, my name's Steve Ballage. I'm the Township Supervisor of Homer, and I'm on the county board. I'm the Republican leader there. And when you talked about HB 4636, if you could let me know when you get those things by sending me email, I'll call our lobbyist up when I go home and tell them that he should be working on it. The county hasn't brought it up. And in the past, we had a lot of discussion for months about it, and our county assessor was really involved with getting the last one passed. I don't know what's going on, why we weren't even told, but it seems like it might be a little late. But I wish, when this stuff comes up, don't hesitate to email me, because I'll make sure it gets addressed at the county level through our lobbyists, which is another source that you guys can use, because we touch all the same state reps and state senators. So that's, important. But what I came up here to talk about was that the tax bills came out, and our township is getting inundated with people that are really frustrated, because some people went up. If you have a big giant house, they went up a real lot, but most of the houses are going up between $800 and $1,000. That's a lot of money. And the schools, not just this one, all the schools combined, it's about 70% of the tax bill. So it's problematic. I listened to what you said about cutting and doing the best you can. Well, there's a movement out there that may take shape and actually happen, where we can take Lincoln Way has 4 schools, and Lincoln Way is at 50% capacity. And what they did is they went and built schools, but then there was a decline in enrollment, a big decline, which I don't know if you're going to see that here or not, but people are having less babies. And, so I don't have the statistics to give you the exact numbers, but there's a decline in children. So I don't know when that's going to hit here. It hit in New Lenox, and they're at 50%. Those people are paying taxes for 4 high schools at 50%. So there's a movement to disconnect part of Lockport High School School District, the southeastern part of Homer Township, or Homer Glen, or whatever, and move that to Lincoln Way. And that would take a whole big section of, I don't know the exact streets, but the idea is to take a bunch of people, children, high school kids, from that area, move them to Lincoln Way School District, and that frees up this school district, so you don't have to renovate anything. You'd have less kids, a lot less kids. So that's just something I didn't hear anybody talk about, but I think it's an important discussion, because when you look at years to come, with the decline of families having kids, are we going to just keep with same districts and run them at 50% or 25% or whatever, when we should be combining? The Catholic Church has a movement right now in Joliet. It's going to hit this year. They're going to combine, if I remember right, it was 17 churches into 7. And why are they doing that? Because enrollment's going down. So the same thing here, when we're talking about renovating, I'm not on the board, and I just listen to people. I don't get a chance to come often, but I can see a lot of different things that other people aren't, maybe. And I don't mean I'm right, but I'm just saying I think it's important for the board to recognize that doing something like that, redistricting and getting some of the load off of here and putting it somewhere where there's way less is a good idea. You know, would help, it'll help them and it'll help us. You know, so, and it might be where, you know, like Romeoville in the past, you know, I don't know that area, but maybe in Romeoville, if that school's overcrowded, they can move something into Bolingbrook. You know, I mean, maybe that's something we should all look at as districts. You know, and at one time I was thinking about combining all the districts, you know, when I probably spoke here about it. But from what I can see, if we just kind of like work together with some of these districts, it'll be more beneficial yet, because we'll be able to save a lot of money. You'd have the same school, you'd have the same superintendent, you have the same board, you just have less kids. And that's not a problem, because we love kids, but the problem is, where do we put them? You know, and then when you have less kids, it also increases the value of your education, because you're not so overcrowded. So I'd like you guys just to consider what I said, because I think it's a very viable option.
Right, next we have a Miss Tammy Hayes.
Good evening, everyone. First, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to the community for its support for the Horticulture Club plant sale. When I visited the greenhouse on Saturday, I spoke with Miss Martin, and she expressed her gratitude to the community, and I want to also extend a note of gratitude for making the plant sale a success. She also told me that the horticulture department has added a teacher. The growth of this science at LTHS is encouraging. Also, congrats to the ASE test takers of the autos program. I hope many of them continue in this field, as skilled, knowledgeable techs are hard to come by. Next, I want to talk a little bit again about, you know, the referendum, the open house, and what the community has told the board. Again, the results were 53% of the community voted no on the referendum. So now the board is going to move forward to put the taxes onto the community anyway. So it begs the question, you didn't get what you wanted with the referendum, so you're just going to take it. Recently, a board member suggested using cash on hand, 10, maybe even 15 million. I hope you do that. I hope you do at least that. Myself and a few others have petitioned the board via email, and we've spoken to Dr. McBride regarding trying to get some time on the board. I understand they don't want to give normal, everyday community citizens time on the board. But we do give time to vendors, and we give time to architects, and you know, even some school board members who will go through every referendum that has ever been done for a 20-plus minute dissertation. But I can tell you, I appreciated him at least offering something to board discussion time, because that's a rare event. I've been in a lot of meetings, everybody knows it. Not a whole lot of discussion on this board. If it all happens behind closed doors, we don't know it. As the public, we don't know it. So maybe if you're not going to give it, and you're not going to give citizens 30 minutes on a board, how about an open forum like a town hall, where we could actively ask people in a closed area, not a giant room where vendors are there talking about solar panels, and you know, vendors are proving why they should be in our school. School boards were created to give people of the community a voice. I handed that all out last week. You guys know that. Change will come, and this community needs a board that is willing to work for the community and listen to the community. A board that can think on their own, use common sense, and do research, instead of solely relying on influence of the administration and lifelong vendors. Board solidarity does not instill community confidence. Instead, it shows no one is thinking for themselves, and or others are being bullied into following the narrative. Now, I know it's been discussed. You guys started talking about renovating Central in 2019. There was some information that came across, and it was the fact that in 8 years' time, so that goes all the way back to 2015. In 8 years' time, you spent $375,000 on repairs or capital improvements to Central. And in that time, you spent 19.8 million dollars on East. And it's in, I got it right out of your financials. So to spend 8 years not spending more than $375,000 on a building that now our only narrative that we have is to save this building, put our money in this building. You know, you have to ask yourself, why? Why are you doing that? And why have you not tried to do something different before? So when you say you don't want to give these community members 30 minutes to listen to us, well, you didn't want to even give $500,000 to Central in 8 years? $500,000 in 8 years? And 19.8 to East, where one of the projects, I believe, was to upgrade the speaker system in the auditorium. That's not life and safety. Now it's all life and safety at Central. But the auditorium speakers were more important than life and safety at Central. That's a long time. So, no problem. So, Ann Lopez Caneva was elected in 2013. Her term is up in 2025. Luann Johnson, member, was elected in 2009. Her term is up in 2025. Michael Travis, member, 2019. Term expires in 2025. Lance Teese, who was appointed, can only serve until the next election. His term is up in 2025. Zion was elected in 2021, and his term is up in 2025. I hope you guys really think about that when we are making decisions. I appreciate your time. Have a great day, everybody.
Next, we have a Ms. Dawn Allen. She probably left. Next, we have a Mr. John Walters.
Do you have to note that she was not present? Oh.
I am back. The voters spoke and rejected your referendum. They said no to spending $85 million on a 115-year-old, the 115-year-old Central building. But the board won't listen. You're going to move forward and spend $30 million, even though the taxpayers said no to spending millions on Central. At the last meeting, Member Thies said that the voters won't approve any tax increase. I don't think that's totally true. Yes, there's a segment of the population that will never vote themselves a tax increase. That said, the board seems to always shoot themselves in the foot with the community and with the divisive referendum they put on the ballot. Build a new high school in Homer Glen. Immediately, in the public eye, it was going to be a Homer-only school, and only Homer students would go there. It was divisive. After losing Lockport West to Romeoville, who could blame the voters of Crest Hill and Lockport for voting no? Then there's the $85 million fix-up of the 115-year-old Central building. There are a lot of voters that think it's a waste of money on an old structure, and they said no, and they were with the never vote yes voters. That's why you lost that referendum. And you played the nostalgia and emotional connection to the past. Believe it or not, there's a huge segment of the population that have no emotional connection to the Central building. And others know it's a huge ongoing problem to keep an ancient building in working order, and it's going to be a constant draw on taxpayer dollars. It's divisive. Look at the state of Illinois' decision to demolish the 99-year-old Stateville prison and build new. The prisoners are going to have newer and up-to-date facilities than our students. It's time to think about what's best and acceptable for the whole 205 community. Move into the future and not try to reinvest in the past. I challenge this board to come up with a solution and referendum that unites the community, and it's done before. It's been done before. In 1996, the referendum to expand East passed. Remember, there are 5 board seats up for election, and the majority of the voters voted no on spending on Central. Come up with a community uniting solution to the challenge. Come up to the challenge of uniting this community, because I can't imagine any board member voting against the majority of the voters will get reelected when the election comes up. And I don't remember ever getting an invitation to come meet with you. So, thank you.
Next, we have a Mr. Brent Porfidio.
Dr. McBride and board, thank you for letting me speak for 5 minutes. Reality is a big thing to me. Some of the reality checks that I look at right now is this survey that's been talked about for 2 meetings now, had 500 participants. Does everybody realize there's 79,000 people in the district? And 500 people representing 79,000 is kind of crazy to me. I never got the survey. I never filled it out. I'm also a precinct committeeman. When I ran for office, I'm a 3-term committeeman. I knock on doors, I hear what my residents have to say to me. Overwhelmingly, they don't want a tax increase, and I said, well, there could be some benefits to it. They said they don't want it. There's a number of reasons why, and I've stated it before. Their household income is not keeping up with the increases in taxes. And there was a 5% increase in the District 205 property tax bill I received last week. It did go up. You said the rate went down. Well, the rate went down, but the EAV of my house went up, so 5% it went up. People are getting priced out of their houses. That's reality. Have any of you knocked on doors and spoke to families about what this is going to mean to them? Did anybody on the board do that? Show of hands. And how many doors did you knock on? You're forming opinions not based on the voters. That's the most important people are the voters and what they want. Not what you personally want. It's what they want. They elected you. They should be number one on what direction you go. That's very important. There was a 2021 structural assessment done, someone mentioned tonight, of Central. What was done with that assessment report? Would there still have been a ceiling collapse if people listened to the report and read it and spent the money where it should have been spent? Ms. Hayes brought up how much was spent on maintenance at Central. It's a disaster. They should be spending it on maintenance. Now they want to hang some more money they got to have residents pay for stuff that should have been spent on the last 15, 20 years on a 115-year-old building. When you're spending tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer money, there should be a second opinion. DLA architects should not be used for every single thing. That's a conflict of interest to have the same architectural company here for 25, 30 years. You got to get another opinion when you're spending that much money. It's too much of tunnel vision. It's too much. You got to get another opinion. Redistricting was mentioned. I mentioned it last week. Lockport, the south end of Lockport is only 5 miles from Lincoln Way West. 5 miles. That's half the distance it is to the east end of the district. So you can't complain about the cost of transportation and how long it's going to take the kids to school like it takes now to go to the Lincoln Way North. That should be a viable option that is looked at and studied. I haven't heard anything about it. It should be something that should be looked in because there's a lot of people that are never ever going to vote for an increase, and they should not have it shoved down their throat. And Dr. McBride mentioned HB 4636. What if Citgo Oil gets a tax break? You guys are going to be short more money. What's that? Oh, we need more tax money. Let's hang that on the taxpayer. Our backs are breaking. You need to consider what the residents want. We don't want a tax increase. Find a way around it. Thank you very much.
All right, next we have a Mr. Jay Rhodey.
Hi, Board. How are you? I want to say something, and I want to make sure I'm extremely clear about it. 30 million in life safety. Now, I'm gonna say it again, so that we're all on the same page. And kids, words have meaning. Don't ever forget that. $30 million in life safety. So you're saying we need $30 million in life safety work at Central. So I've got I've got 3 kids. They've all gone through Central. And Ms. Hayes talked about how much money's been spent on Central. Now, $30 million in life safety work just didn't happen overnight. I want to know what my kids were doing in a building that needed $30 million in life safety. I want to know what these kids were doing in it. I want to know what 1,000 kids every year are doing in a building that needs $30 million of life safety work. Now, if that's true, and we've put not only these children, administration, staff, and tours just recently at risk in putting them and letting them go through a building that needs $30 million in life safety work. Well, I think that's gross negligence. And I think some of our older board members, and possibly even the superintendent, you should consider your resignations by the end of the night, if that's the truth. Well, but you laugh, because you know what? Maybe we don't need $30 million in life safety work. Maybe life safety is the vehicle for you to bypass the voters, because maybe it's not really life safety work. Maybe no one's life was truly in danger. Maybe it's the vehicle we want to use in the loophole to bypass the voters and bypass the voters' say in the referendum they voted down. Because when you do it under life safety, you can do it with so much money without asking the voters. So either A, people's lives are in danger, or B, we're lying. Which still, if that's the case, and that's what we're going to go on, you might still want to think about your resignations by the end of the day. Okay? So it's one or the other. Either we put people's lives in danger, or B, we're using life safety as the vehicle to bypass the voters. It's one of the two. Now, I do want to talk about the idea of redistricting. It's come up. It came up this weekend. I'm copied on emails with people. Bob, you're on the emails. Lance is on the emails. And they brought up redistricting, something that was never brought up before this board before at any of these meetings. We are overcrowded. And you know what? Although I'm not in favor of Central, we've got to do something for the kids. To keep them under one roof if we could. I know, the green golf course and the camping, you got 107 acres. We could always move those facilities there. But let's say the life cycle study that I suggested last week, we're not gonna do it, obviously, to really see 20 years in paying for referendum, for renovating Central versus a building. A life cycle study is really the only thing that's gonna tell you what is worth it, okay? If it really pans out. But let's just say we redistrict. I mean, Steve brought it up. Why aren't we even considering redistricting? Imagine the opportunities that students would have. We've got vacant schools that have been built. They're gorgeous, and they're just sitting there. We've got West at half capacity. We've got North, which we're already going to, which is completely open. Why have you guys not even considered talking to Will County Regional about possibly redistricting, getting rid of Central, and then giving our students here more opportunity so they can have more access to gymnasiums for practice? Because you guys are overcrowded on it. Remember, I'm on my 3rd daughter here. I was a band parent. I know the struggles they went through to get practice time, okay? My kid is in competitive dance, okay? Not a lot of opportunities, but just think of all of those students that if they were in a different facility that had this space, we could utilize what's already be in front of us here in the county. You need to consider it. I want to know why. I'm blown away that you guys haven't even talked about it. It's irresponsible. Thank you.
Next, we have a Mr. Michael Bonomo.
I've heard worse.
I'm sorry.
All right. My ex-wife calls me.
Just kidding. Didn't mean to make you laugh. So, good evening, Superintendent McBride and the school board members. First of all, I want to thank everyone on the board for working for the betterment of the children of the District 205. As a board member in Homer Township, it is my job and yours as board members to figure out how to spend taxpayer money responsibly. The public that is critical of our job seldomly get involved in attending meetings and do not fully understand what is going on and what entails our job. Excuse me. I'm reiterating pretty much what some of the previous people have said. Considering the consolidation of school districts, redistricting involving Lincoln Way and Lockport are viable options. We have 882 school districts in Illinois, probably the most in the country. The average superintendent makes approximately $140,000 per year, which equals $127 million. Consolidation would save money and should maintain the quality education that we currently have. Those are real numbers. Think of the central building as your own home. As your home ages over time, you should be making moderate changes in the case of central campus, it is all happening at one time. You would be putting a Band-Aid on a big cut. It would more than likely become an ongoing problem with constant repairs, etc. One more thing I think we should figure is a way to combine all classes 9 through 12 under the same roof. Redistricting would solve that problem, not to mention save money. Out of respect to the residents who took the time to vote in the last election, listen to what was said. What they want more is more options. It will definitely help get positive feedback from the taxpayers. And I guess, that's pretty much, covered. Everyone's covered. It's no sense in repeating things. But, when people hear these figures, they just got their tax bill last week. And a month ago, they voted on an $85 million increase. They're looking at a $30 million increase. Everyone's taxes went up. And, they're looking at the dollar figure, not the actual meaning. So I think by offering them viable options, if it's ever been discussed, the redistricting or consolidation, et cetera, it shows that you're trying to do something to save money, not spend money. And again, I think you'd get a more positive response from the public. But again, it's a tough job. As a board member on the township, we get attacked, and all we're doing is trying to do what's best for our community. And I know you guys are trying to do the same thing. So again, options, that's all they're asking for, and public ones. Thank you.
Next, we have a Miss Candace Whitson.
Hello. Thank you for letting me address the board today. I am relatively new to the board meeting experience. I've been invited to participate as the advisor on the advisory council that's been happening before the referendum and then since. And so I greatly appreciate that opportunity. I've been learning a lot as we go along. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that people understand the immediate need, in my opinion, as I see it, and I could be wrong, but we currently have kids that are going to another school. As some of the students have mentioned, it's been very taxing and very trying on some of these students, and I can envision I'm part of the staff as well. And so that may or may not be a long-term solution. But I think the issue at hand is what we have before us is how do we get those kids back back into the school that so that they can have a greater sense of unity with the school as a whole and be able to participate in the school and the activities and the curriculum in the way that our students have mentioned is favorable. So that is the immediate issue at hand, and how does the board go ahead and do that without having to use an off-site school in a different district? That puts forth a very big challenge to the board. Taxes are always a problem and always a concern for homeowners and property owners. I'm sad to hear about the issue with the oil refineries. And so that will put another constraint and challenge to the board going forward. So I just want to go ahead and, I guess, give you support in the fact that knowing that you don't have an easy decision, that you have a difficult path moving forward. It'll be difficult to make everybody happy, and you'll have to work within the constraints that you've got. I know as part of the advisory council, one of the issues going forward is how to communicate better with the community. So it's nice to hear about what other people have had to say and what they feel that is necessary to get across to the board in this manner. And I think that's just something, as the board put their, tried to move forward through their referendum, the efforts that they made, in my opinion, as a 10-plus year resident, that's my understanding, that's the first, or at least my exposure as to something to that great of extent. So I appreciate the efforts that the board has done for that. But now we'll have the opportunity to go ahead and look at the long-term horizon and perhaps take into consideration the things that the community has spoken about and see how maybe some of those can't be put into that plan going forward, or at least is discussed and maybe fleshed out a little bit more, and to help develop that trust back to the community. But I just want to say thank you very much for the time and the efforts that you've been putting forth, and I look forward to hopefully getting the students back into a school environment that they feel that they can actually flourish and learn and have a sense of community. Thank you.